Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Nifty 50 Photographers. And today we're just going to climb a little hill behind me. We're at a little place called Staveley, which is just a couple of miles out from Kendal. And we're going to go up this peak here. Now, it's a peak called Reston Scar, and it's in one of Wainwright's books called The Outlying Fells of Lakeland. I'll read you a little clip from it soon. It's quite amusing, his introduction, but basically it's designed for people who are getting on in life a bit and are looking for a slightly easier walk, but still enjoy the excitement of going up the fells. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to get your photos in focus right from the very closest object to ones right in the distance. I'm going to use a technique called focus stacking. Now, that might sound a bit complicated, but actually it's a piece of cake, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I've been dying to get out into the fresh air. We've had so much wet weather, and fortunately this afternoon we've got a nice break in the rain, so I'm going to make the most of it. The thing about stormy weather is always get some nice clouds after it. So I'm hoping today we'll have some nice cloud formations and some nice scenery, a nice panorama from the top of this hill. So I'm going to head off up now and make our way to the top, and I'll show you how to do it. So let me just read you a little bit from this excerpt of The Outlying Fells of Lakeland by Wainwright, which he dedicates to the old timers of the fells. And he says, "This is the reason for the appearance of this book. Physical and other disabilities may develop in later years. Bodily ailments may occur in spite of healthy exercise. Legs tend to become rickety and bones brittle, or a half-century of pipe smoking may play havoc with the wind. A street accident may curtail freedom to walk and climb in comfort, or overindulgence in sexual activities may have robbed the limbs of energy. Perish the thought, but it had to be mentioned." So that's what made me smile and want to pick up this book and do some of his walks. So I made it to the top of Reston Scar, some 255 metres up. And let me pan round for you up there in the cloud and mist, Scafell and Scafell Pike, and just in front of them here, it's the Coniston Range and the Langdale Pikes. If I move round where the sun is setting, you can see Gummer's How, and hiding in the bottom of there is Windermere. And then over here we've got views out to Morecambe Bay. And a bit further around we'll get to the Yorkshire Dales and the Calf, and a little bit of snow on top of the Howgills there. And then just over here, the last of the light is just skimming off the top of, I think that's probably Ill Bell. And the other one here that you can just see peeping out with the snow is Red Screes. But so lots of opportunities for some nice compositions. I've got my camera set up on a tripod. I found one composition I like these misty hills in the background. There's obviously a shower or something just passing over them. And I'd like to use these rocks in the foreground as part of that. So I'm going to do 3 shots for this. I'm using a wide angle lens, and you can usually get away with just 3 shots for this. I'm going to use manual focus, and I'm going to use point focus. For my first shot, I'm going to focus on these rocks right in the foreground. For my second shot, I'm going to focus on the middle ground. Now, there's a nice valley in front. There's some houses, and I'll use one of the houses to give me a nice bit of contrast to get my focus point. And for my final shot, I'm going to focus right on the hills in the background, and that way I'll have the image focused in 3 different points, and then we'll blend those all together in Photoshop at the end. Now, your f-stop isn't too critical now because you're not worried about masses of depth of focus, but I would choose something, if you know the sweet spot of your lens, choose that one. I'm going to go for a nice middle aperture around f8. That should give me good definition for each of the 3 shots, but you don't need to go super wide or super narrow. I mean, normally you do this quite narrow to get that big depth of focus. You don't need it this time because we're going to stack 3 images together. And that's simply what focus stacking is. So let me grab those 3 shots. Back in the office now, I've loaded up my photos into Lightroom and I've selected 3 shots where I've used different focus points to work on to try and illustrate this principle to you. So in my first shot, I've focused in the foreground. In the second shot, I've focused on the middle ground. And in the final shot, I've focused right on the background on the little snow-capped hills you can see right in the distance. Now you will notice obviously things like the clouds have moved in between and the light has changed slightly, but that's not really going to have any effect on our final finished photo. Now, some people like to develop their photos first. I prefer not to because I want to work on the final image where all the exposures have been blended together. But what I will do is sort out a couple of basic things, basically the sharpening and any profile corrections. So let me do this on one photo. So first of all, I'm going to tick remove chromatic aberration and enable the profile corrections, making sure I've got the right lens set. Then the other thing I'm going to do is sharpen the image. So I'm going to set the sharpening to 90 and I'm going to set the masking to 50. I'm also going to set a noise reduction for 10, and my little rule is usually to set the noise reduction and the sharpening amount so they both add up to 100. If I've got a low ISO like 100, I'm very happy to sharpen that to 90. Once I've got all that done, I'm now going to click on my first photo, click on the third, so I've selected all 3, and synchronize those so that they've all got the same settings. And I'm going to literally check all and then synchronize. So they've now all got the same settings, they've got the same exposure, and we can now take them into Photoshop. So we do that by clicking on Photo, Edit in, and Open as Layers in Photoshop. And what that's going to do, it's going to bring in the 3 different images and put them all in layers in Photoshop. Just going to get rid of this grid that's on the screen. And there are our 3 layers. Now the next thing you want to do is get them all to line up. So first of all, select all the layers. You can click on the top one, press your shift key, click on the bottom one. That's selected all 3. Go to the edit menu and choose auto align layers. Select the auto projection. Don't worry about any lens corrections because we've already done that in Lightroom. So we'll make sure that they're unticked and then click OK. And now Photoshop will look for any discrepancies in the alignment and line up the 3 images. And you can see just round the edge here, there's a little bit of transparency where it's had to move the images very slightly to get them all to stack perfectly in alignment with each other. But we'll deal with that right at the end. Now the next thing we want to do, while we've still got our 3 layers selected, make sure they're selected, and we now go to the edit menu again and do auto blend layers. And for this option we want to do a stack of images, so make sure stack is ticked, seamless tones and colors, because we want the colors and tones to match throughout the 3 images. It's basically a photo of the same thing. Content aware fill transparent areas, I'm going to untick. And then, because I don't want that basically means it'll try and fill these little blank areas at the edge of the image. And I don't want to do that. I'll sort that out by cropping the image at the end. So then select OK. And now what Photoshop is going to do is going to build some masks and blend the images together. And that should make sure that we get all the focus bits all stacked up nicely. So you can see over here how it's built 3 separate masks of the bits it thinks should be blended, and our final image there, it looks pretty good now. We've got nice sharp focus there. If I zoom in to the background, you You see that the hills there are nice and sharp in the background. Get my computer a second to chance up. And in the foreground, what am I zoomed in? We're at 300% here, so perhaps that's getting a little bit much, but the foreground is also nicely in focus too. Now all we need to do is literally do a crop on that, so we've got what we want. And then I have an image, and then I'll take that back into Lightroom and develop that. And here's my final image. I hope you've found that useful, and now you know how to focus stack. It's really a very straightforward process. The software pretty much does it all for you. You will find that if you use longer focal lengths that you might need to stack more images, working your way from the very foreground right to the background. Other than that, you can stack as many images as you like. It just becomes a bit of a slow process as your computer has to do a lot of work. Other than that, it should work very well, and it'll give you that really sharp image from front to back. But particularly look for subjects where you've got something in the foreground very close to your camera that's of interest, and you also want to show something right in the background, and you really want to have that artistic effect of everything being sharp rather than some of it being blurred. Like most things in photography, it's a creative choice. If you enjoyed this video, you'd like to see some more, please do subscribe to the channel, and please give us a thumbs up as well. And any feedback is welcome. Please leave that in the comments. If there's any other techniques you'd like to see an explanation of, I'm happy to make a video about those. Just let me know what you'd like to see. In the meantime, go out and have some fun with your camera. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.